All right, let's go ahead and get started. So, hello everyone. See lots of tired faces, and I feel that. I'm Shelby.
Hello, I'm Charlotte.
Just some context for this. So we're doing a panel on how to prepare for anime conventions. I kind of forgot that this was happening until maybe like a week ago. Obviously, this is a presentation that we had ready, but I also just started a new job, kind of. It's more like I went from doing something part-time to something full-time, so that's been like chaotic. And I was like, oh my God, I have to drop everything from that and go to an anime convention and teach people how to be ready for anime conventions while I'm not even really fully like ready to be here. Like there's definitely way too much dry shampoo in my hair. I think my cosplay is tired teacher with shorts on, which would get me dress coded at work. Anything you'd like to throw in?
Yeah, so despite the mess over here, we have
Just being honest
we
here.
have been pretty regular con goers for about over 10 years now. Not specifically San Japan. This is our second year at San Japan. But just in general, we kind of know our way around anime cons and a little bit about it. So this is just kind of a conglomeration of little tips and tricks of stuff that we've learned over the years and may also be applicable to other big trips that you want to go on, like concerts or I don't know because I don't go out. But yeah. So.
I just remember the first time I went to a con, I was very confused. And I just sort of felt like a chicken with my head cut off because nobody explained anything to me. So I would have really loved to have a panel like this. So hopefully it can help you guys out a little bit. But, oh, that's where we should have been saying all of that. Welcome to all the first timers and seasoned veterans. I see some people have been here before, have been to other cons. They're really great. They're a really good time. Provided everything goes according to plan, it doesn't always. So we wanted to give you some tips and tricks to help you have a good time at San Japan and hopefully maybe even help you make some friends. I know we are terrified of that, but it is possible. Y'all are like so quiet and look so tired. And it's just so different from like my everyday life working with children. So here's what we're gonna go over. So I'm getting prepared, safety tips. I know that's not like the most exciting thing, but it is actually important. Maximizing your weekend and making new friends. Do you want to go ahead and start?
Yeah, so here's our first thing. If you are up for the challenge, let's take a moment and do some musical chairs. So get up, swap seats, and sit next to somebody you don't know.
You can go with a partner if you want, but we needed a reason to use this clown timer.
Oh my God.
So please get up and move seats.
She found this last night.
Oh, well, let me turn the volume up.
I can't move, there's no clown music.
It's not letting me control the sound anymore for some reason. I was able to control it from my computer. It's not letting me control it. Thank you for everyone that's moving, even though you can't hear the clown music.
Do you only have the HDMI plugged in, or?
No, I have the thing plugged in. I hear it very softly, but it won't let me turn the volume up.
Alright, well I think...
It's really not like that. It's not worth it. Like, we all know what like circus music sounds like. Just use your imagination.
I think everybody who's wanted to move has moved by now. Yes? Okay.
So, just take a moment to introduce yourself. Say hi, say your name, pronouns, why you're here, why you're tired. Wanted to give you a few seconds to chat with somebody next to you. Or don't. All right,
We don't want to be normal.
for the sake of time, we will go ahead and move on. I almost did an attention getter. It is so hard sometimes to disconnect yourself from.
Alright, we're not in school.
We're not in school. Nobody has to give me their paws or anything. All right.
Alright, let's do getting prepared. I'm going to kind of breeze through this because, for one thing, you're already here. And for another, just to save some time, because the more time we save, the more games we get to play later.
There's games?
Games.
Who sounds like school now? If we get through all our tasks, class, we can have 10 minutes of free time at the end.
Okay,
All right.
whatever. So step number 1, and probably the most important, make sure you are registered. A, for the con. B, if you are traveling, make sure you have the hotel booked. Do not wait until the night before, or maybe even the week before, to book a hotel. You can't point at me because I just registered for my badge last night. I did not register for
Okay.
the hotel. But that being said, find off your confirmation emails, your receipts, so that way if you show up to the hotel and there's a mistake with your booking, with your parking, anything in between, you can show them proof of your purchase or anything else you need, and kind of speak to the manager about that. Start your supply gathering, especially if you are a cosplayer, because a lot of cosplays have a lot of moving parts. Make sure you know where all your wigs are, make sure you know where the outfit is, and not just the outfit, but the accessories and everything in between, wig caps, bobby pins, makeup, but also non-cosplay stuff like spare snacks, medications, deodorant.
Always important.
If it helps, I know it helps me and you because we're both really disorganized, is to start
Thanks.
start putting together like a list of things you might need, and so just kind of gradually fill out that list. And so when the week before rolls around and you need to start gathering your supplies, you have a handy dandy list. Yeah, already went over the cosplay thing as part of the supply gathering.
I think this is important too, doing the trial run.
Yeah, so if you are traveling, if you are out of town, it's a good idea to get a layout of the city. This can be just as easy as just going onto Google Maps and just having a little poke around, see what restaurants are around in the area, see kind of, maybe try and get a look at like the street view just to see, how do I word this? Kind of like the environment, like the safety, how safe are the streets? Like, do you feel comfortable walking alone at night in this particular area? And if you don't, is there an easy access to like an Uber or something? Yeah, I thought there was more too. It's on the next slide. For the day before, consider taking a COVID test. This is kind of a new one. But if you are somebody who travels a lot or has been outside a lot and you think you may have been at risk of an exposure to COVID, it's a lot better to be safe than sorry. There have been, circumstances where events like these turn into super spreader events, sometimes on purpose, where somebody shows up. Somebody shows up knowing they have COVID and they just don't care, or somebody who maybe catches COVID during the con and decides not to take the precautions to protect other people. I know it's a bummer to catch COVID right before a con and have to cancel all your plans, but you really do want to play it safe because the pandemic is not over.
Okay.
Pick up your badge. Most cons will let you pick up your badge the day before. So especially with San Japan, they had their badge pickup yesterday evening. It's usually a good idea because you don't really want to be waiting in line at the con, rather before the con, just so you have more time for your fun weekend. Organize your supplies. Again, if you still have your list of supplies, pull that back out. Try and figure out what's going in your suitcase, what's going in a backpack. We can get a little bit more on that later. Cosplayers, again, keep track of your supplies. Make sure you know where your wigs are, your accessories, your outfits. If your outfit needs to be ironed, whip out that iron, all that good stuff. If you have spare time and resources, check out the venue. So since San Japan opened up their doors last night for badge pickup, basically you could have just taken a walk around this whole building if you weren't familiar with it, just to see where panel rooms are, where the dealer's room is, where the artists are, where the games are, everything in between. take a shower,
Please.
please. Oh yeah, I think I put the take a shower in the last week's slide before. So take another shower because last week didn't count.
Put deodorant on, brush your teeth and your hair, please. All right, so moving on to the next thing. So the person next to you, ask what their fandom is and see if you have any in common. So for those that don't have someone to talk to, anybody see that Buc-ee's meetup? Anybody else going to that?
That's a thing.
That's merely a thing. And I'm really curious as to like who set that up. All right. For the sake of time, moving on. All right. So, safety first, and there's context behind that picture, and we got in a big argument over it last night. I know the last thing you want to listen to is like safety tips, because it feels kind of preachy, but there actually are some things to know going to cons. Like a big one, do not stand or sit in like the middle of a hallway, especially really narrow, crowded ones. It's not as much of a problem here because there's a lot of open space, but in other cons, it gets really, really frustrating when you're trying to like get through somewhere and you have like a mosh pit of people all like trying to catch up just in the middle of everything. So if you find somebody and you want to give them a hug and talk, just kind of move out of the way, try to get against the wall or go to kind of a more like common area.
Yeah.
I put this, does anybody know what this is from?
16.
Okay, cool. I thought, like, when I was doing this bullet point, I thought of the clones and how they're like, ee, and hug each other everywhere. And I feel like I see a lot of that at conventions, and the E always happens in the middle of everything. So that's why I put that picture. And she was like, that picture is lame. And I was like, no, everybody's going to get it and think it's hilarious.
Well, first she put it right next to the other bullet point, which is extremely counterintuitive.
So, it's generally not a good idea to come alone. I know, I can see how that would have gotten confusing, but I fixed it. I know some people do go by themselves and end up just meeting people and making friends and having fun, and that is like super cool that they can do that, but that is not the majority of us. They're really busy, lots of things can happen. You need somebody that's like aware of your presence there, somebody that is kind of keeping an eye out on you. It doesn't mean you have to do everything together, but just you should have somebody around. It kind of sucks that we have to say this, but it's true. Like, obviously, don't go into a hotel room or any room alone with a stranger or invite them into your room. Somebody might seem really trustworthy, and then something really sketchy can happen. If you don't know them, if you literally just met them that day and you want to do something, go to like a restaurant or go walking around. Like, do not go into a room. Travel lightly. So really think about what you want to bring, especially if you are traveling and staying in a hotel. Bringing giant suitcases
Yeah, okay.
is not always practical when you're having to navigate around a con.
Well, okay. So backpacks like this one right here typically are a good idea. Yes, do not lug around a suitcase, but that's in the hotel room, so that doesn't count. But especially if you are planning to hit up the dealer's room in the artist alley, especially like midday, and you don't want to walk all the way back to your hotel room, it's a good idea to start light and then go shopping and then lug everything back at the end of the day.
I do have to point out that you had a massive suitcase for a 3-day trip. But this is us being sisters.
We'll talk later.
All right. Lastly, take a shower and brush your teeth. You stinking is not technically a health hazard, but I wish it was. I hate to be like, I run into so many smelly people at these things because honestly, 99% of the people don't smell bad, but there's just those people that are like allergic to showers. And it's like, you need to, please take a shower.
Yeah, if you're gonna bully me, let's talk about one person you dated.
Okay, we're moving on from that one. All right, our next conversation topic. The first anime you ever watched, and why was it Sailor Moon? Ready, set, go.
It could have been Pokemon. Dragon Ball.
True. Yeah. What do you think came first? I see it when I was super into it. Because it was like, I wanted to be Sailor Moon.
Yeah, like I remember seeing
You still are. You don't still watch it?
You didn't see me that right.
I know. You know what's weird? The kids didn't really care that much.
They're kids. They don't have the 25 years of emotional attachment.
I know.
That's fair.
You know, it's like,
They think they do.
They think
They think they do, but they don't. I'm doing that. Oh, what are you? Oh my god, no. It's not that bad. I'll wait till it's like dribbling out. We'll give it like another 30 seconds. Timer.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Oh yeah. No, like I know it's. How are we doing? Everybody's like super into conversation. I don't want to cut it off. You know, last time we did this, like nobody talked. That was awkward. Wait for it to kind of die down.
Okay. Sounds like we're ready to move on.
Okay, sounds like it's dying down a little bit, so we'll go ahead and move on. Or not. I mean, this just feels so weird to me. Like I'm used to having to like,
No,
or something like that, you know?
just go.
All right, so moving on to the actual fun stuff, maximizing your weekend. One thing that I like to do is to create kind of a bucket list of everything you want to do during the weekend. You have to think about what's super important to you and what's not as important to you.
So a note is, as much as we want to think so, we cannot do everything in the weekend during the weekend, unless you do not sleep. And even then, like the panels end after like 2 a.m. So you really have to do some time management skills here. Maybe take a look at the panels while you're also taking a look at the venue and the hotels and everything.
So you're kind of thinking about what's most important to you. Do you want to be able to buy lots of merch or artwork? Do you want to meet voice actors? Do you want to attend panels like this? Do you want to do the cosplay contest? Do you want to enter tournaments for card games or video games? Or do you want to make new friends? There are people that come that actually want to make friends. Obviously, if you make a schedule, it doesn't have to be like you have to micromanage every minute of every day. But it's good to kind of have a rough idea of like, okay, today I want to go to this and this and this, and I want to do that. So some really important things, and I know some of y'all probably heard of the 6-2-1 rule. So at least 6 hours of sleep, at least 2 meals, at least 1 shower. We're big on the showering thing here. So
We needed a bit.
you do want to actually plan to have 2 meals a day. We've run into people at cons in the past who are like, I'm not going to plan food, I'm just going to live on Pocky. And then you're starving and you have no food options and you're paying like $30 for a pizza in some dingy like hotel bar because that's all that's there because you had no plan.
If you are like me and you don't notice when you get hungry, it's a good idea to pack snacks. Because if you don't notice when you get hungry, you do still need food. So at least this way you don't really have to take time to sit down and eat. When you really want to go to the next panel, you still have something.
Something that we do, because we're from Austin, so when we go to local conventions, a lot of times we'll like pack a lunch, and so that we can save our food budget for like an awesome dinner instead of getting just like mediocre food for a whole weekend. So if that's an option that you can do, or if you're at a hotel that has a fridge and microwave, which you would think they all would, but they don't for some reason.
What I typically do is I get a bunch of non-perishable stuff, like
that's a good idea.
pistachios, granola bars,
Yes.
fruit that I can leave like out on the counter or something.
Yeah, and they make for great snacks too.
Yeah, and just have that like for breakfast or to pack it in bags and lunch it up. That way I can save my money for buying merch and food.
Exactly. So you want to be prepared, and a meal doesn't have to be like a giant meal. It can even just be like a turkey sandwich or like.
I know we're all scared of like the school field trips, and your mom packs you like those really horrible turkey sandwiches, and you want like the $20 turkey leg that all the other kids get. In this case, it probably is a good idea to consider a turkey sandwich.
The turkey sandwich has been an inside joke with us for a while.
The sandwich becomes more acceptable as you get older.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
totally true. So you do want to think about food. This is really important. This took us by surprise last year because it was our first time at San Japan. Time to stand in line. I definitely missed a couple panels because I was used to smaller conventions where it was like, if you want to be there, get there 30 minutes ahead. Here at San Japan, especially on Saturday, it's more like get there an hour ahead, if not even more, depending on how popular that panel's going to be. So if there is something that you are dying to go to, prepare to be there, prepare to be in line, because you don't want to think that 30 minutes is enough time, come to find out it's already full and you have no hope of getting in.
The most popular ones I can think of off the top of my head are the meet and greets.
Mm-hmm.
Events. Those will fill up fast. You have to be there at least an hour and a half there.
Yes. Anything that's going to have a voice actor or a special guest or anything like that, you want to get there super early. But even we were really surprised with the turnout at some of our panels last year. Like we had a Resident Evil Silent Hill one, and the line was forming like an hour in advance, and it filled pretty fast, and we were shocked. We wouldn't have thought of that one as like a popular one that you had to get there early for. So you just really never know. You never know what's going to stand out to people and what's not going to stand out to people. So if it's really important to you, I put on here for San Japan at least an hour. If it's something like meet and greet, special guest, I would even maybe try an hour and a half. And I know that sounds like a long time, but if it's important to you, it's what you got to do.
This is why we have games on our phone.
Exactly. This is important too if you're not used to being on your feet all day long. Haha, I'm literally on my feet all day long. You definitely want to create a balance between activities where you have to stand and ones where you sit. Because A, you don't want your feet to get sore, but B, you don't want your butt to get sore because you sat all day. So kind of just keeping that in mind. There may be 3 panels back to back that sound really interesting, but if you've been sitting for like 5 hours, you may start to kind of doze off and not be able to pay as much attention, so kind of keep that in mind. And we went over this earlier too, but it is okay if you want to do something different than your friends. You don't have to stay with people the entire time. Just make sure you know where to meet back up afterwards. Next slide.
Yeah.
Or this.
So we put together like a little bit of an example just to show you just how to space out like a panel and then like a break. So we have, 11 a.m. We arrive at the convention center. We find our friends. If your friends are not, in the same hotel as you. So at noon is when, the panels start for Staying Japan. So we went to Genshin Impact Trivia.
And then the fan psychology,
Fan psychology.
where they were like, nobody wants anime fans to be teachers. I was like, cool. I'm like literally a teacher.
Well, you're not an anime fan.
So we don't have to go over like every bullet point on here, but basically it gives you an idea like, okay, these are the things that are really important to me. I want to go to fan psychology. I want to go to this Dragon Ball tournament. I need to do my Tarzan for the PS1 cosplay photo shoot at 7. I have to be there. Really want to do karaoke. So you can kind of see how it's sort of spaced out to make sure you're getting all the things that you want to do. Go home and take a shower at the end of the day, please. Now you can read.
All right. Some extra little tidbits on how to have a little extra fun. Yeah. So if you get overstimulated easily, and especially with things like karaoke rooms and large crowds, like a really popular panel, and it's just too much for you, there are places to hide. You just have to get maybe a little bit creative. There's a craft room here. There's a manga library. Those are usually really great spots to just sit and unwind. And if you really have to be by yourself, there are bathrooms. There's a little lounge area right outside. Even that will work. It's relatively quiet and out of the way because these are where all of the panel rooms are and all the actions are in these rooms. So there are spots to hide. Part of going and looking at the venue ahead of time is maybe to help you find those spots.
And sometimes even just in the bathroom, like
Yeah.
some of the bathrooms here get really crowded and some are like hidden in a back corner, and sometimes that's a good place to just stop and like take a breath before you go back out, especially if you're sensitive to like noise and lights and crowds and all that.
Yeah. So if you have some free time and you're sitting around not really knowing what to do and you're playing on your phone, consider going to something that doesn't at first really sound appealing to you. So a lot of really good panels that we've been to over the years has just been from us sitting around saying, we don't really have anything to do. I guess we'll go to this panel even though we don't really like care that much. And then they turn out to be actually fantastic panels, like some of the best panels that we will see the whole convention. Last year, she's not really a gamer. She just comes to, entertain me.
Finally say the truth.
But she spent like hours in the arcade area.
I discovered it like Sunday and I was so mad.
Yeah.
I was like, this, because like I saw arcade and I went, eh. And then I went in there because we were bored, and I was like, I would have spent like the whole weekend in here if I had known how cool it was. So now we really try to make a point to try at least one thing that we wouldn't think we'd be into, and we end up having a lot of fun. Fun story behind that one, this was like 10 years ago, we went to a furry panel. We are not furries. And we were just sitting in the back corner, like waiting. I think we were waiting for another panel in a different room. And they were doing a drawing for this like really cool prize box. It had like gummy bears, it had a sketchbook, and a how to draw animals, and a Beanie Baby. And there were a ton of people in there, and they just took all our names. And she was like, don't put your name in there. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to get drawn. Like, we're not going to get drawn. There's so many people in there. Guess who got drawn?
They christened her a chihuahua.
They made me go up to the front and they were like, what's your persona? And I was like, I just came in here not knowing what's going on. And they came up with, they decided I was a chihuahua because I'm loud. And, it's actually kind of fitting. I'm loud and I talk a lot. And I still have some of the stuff. Obviously not the gummy bears, that'd be gross. But like I still have like the sketchbook and the Beanie Baby. And it was actually really cool, and that would have never happened if I had gone, ew, no way, not the furry panel. So you never know what could happen.
So while you are in line for panels, if you are really bored of playing all those games on your phone, start talking to people, which is what we did back in the day, and a great way to make friends. God, I know.
Grandma!
I know, I'm sorry. So if you see somebody else playing a game on their phone, ask them what game it is. If you have AirDrop on your phone and a collection of memes, you can find some unsuspecting people and send them that Shrek meme you've been holding on to for a few years.
That's a really fun thing to do if you're waiting in a long line for like an industry panel or like a voice actor and you're there for over an hour. Sometimes it's fun to do like airdrop memes, like sending them just around. And just make sure it's appropriate because you don't know what like 12-year-old is walking by before you send something, you know, crude.
Yeah, you don't know who you're airdropping to, so
Keep it appropriate, but it can be fun.
So have a quick chat with some of the artists in the alley, as opposed to just walking up and buying stuff and leaving. Keep in mind that there are other customers around, so you don't really want to spend too much time blocking their booth. But sometimes you meet some really cool people. You learn about, you know, what they draw and how they got into drawing and maybe some tips and tricks if you want to draw. Just something to strike up conversation, maybe make a friend.
And this one, especially because now there's a Buc-ee's meetup and I really want to go. But those fandom meetups are actually a really good way to meet people because it's usually pretty laid back and just, you know, when you're going in that you already have something in common with all those people in the room and that they're all there to talk about it. So if you feel like you're kind of an awkward person, that's also a really good place to start because you know that you've got something to kind of fall back on. Was there anything else on this one?
Oh, yes.
There we go. I think the biggest tip, and we actually just added this like an hour ago,
Okay.
but one of the easiest ways to enjoy your time, and this sounds really counterintuitive, is just to kind of lower your expectations a little bit. I think the most fun I've ever had is when I've just gone in with like an open mind and just gone like, let's see what happens this weekend. Like that's kind of where I am currently, just because like real life has been so busy. I feel like the cons where I've put so much thought into it and planned things out to a T and like had all these expectations for all these panels and meetups, I feel like those are the ones that I tend to come out of a little more disappointed. But the ones where I just say like, let's see what happens, tend to be like more exciting because you just kind of go with the flow.
And I know that's really counterintuitive to what we were saying earlier about make a schedule, but just something to keep in mind is even if you do make a schedule, you may not be able to hit everything on your list. I mean, things happen, things get delayed. So it's a good idea to lower your expectations. Stay in Japan will be here next year, probably, and probably the year after that. It's a very well-established convention. So if you regularly go to cons and you know that it's going to be here next year, it's kind of easier to say, well, maybe I didn't manage to get to Genshin Impact review this year, but I'm sure somebody will do it next year. It's just kind of an easy way to kind of deal with what's the word? Post-con blues. Just you're sad because it's over and you didn't get to do everything you wanted and you just were really disappointed. It's kind of a way to ease the pain a little bit.
Jeez, okay.
Well.
That's true. All right, what is the slide that you did? Our last little conversation topic. Who is your person's favorite character? I'm not going to read the rest of that box. You are going to own up to writing that.
Their waifu, your scrunkly Blorbo, your little meow meow.
It's a little meow meow. Is that a euphemism that I don't understand?
Well, they're a little scruffy.
Like any of this. Okay, I know what a waifu is. I don't need anybody to explain that to me, but like... Okay, for the sake of time and my own personal confusion, because I don't know what these words mean, and she won't tell me. Anybody want to explain what a scrunkly blorbo is? What is that?
It's just your little guy.
What did, like, I was telling her, I was like, tell me a 3-year-old did not come up with that. That is not like a grown-up. Well, what is a meow meow?
Like, you know, the old...
I have never felt so old in my life.
You see a character and they're your scrunkly Blorbo.
No, I've never had that happen.
It's not making sense.
It's not making sense. Okay. Last thing, making new friends. It is possible to meet new people and make new friends at anime conventions, even if you're shy or introverted. Like, raise your hand in here if you're an introvert.
Yeah.
That's it. I actually don't know if I've ever met, like, a fellow extrovert. Like, I think it's just me sometimes.
I'm an extrovert.
Thank you. Met my first one, Air 5. So obviously people are here and people are talking and people have friends. So you're not doomed to not have friends at an anime convention just because you're introverted. Some good times to meet people. Some of this might sound really obvious, but for some people it is good to know. Standing in line for a panel, like I said, especially those hour and a half wait times, that's a really good time to talk and meet new people. Sitting down and eating lunch or dinner, as long as it's kind of in more of a communal setting, like downstairs, if you're eating just like a piece of pizza from the little convention bar, that's a good time. Randomly sitting at somebody else's table at a restaurant, maybe not. In the bathroom, if someone is just kind of casually doing their makeup or like fiddling with their costume or just kind of hanging out, that can be a good time to chat with people. During like card tournaments or bringing your own games, that's a good time as well.
You actually do not even have to bring your own game. The game room downstairs has rentals. So something that we've done a couple times is just take like Candyland. Like everybody knows how to play Candyland or like Pretty Princess.
I love Pretty Princess.
Yeah. So
Yes. We'll play later.
We take one of the rental games, and they actually have signs for you that say "Looking for new players." So you can just put that sign up and ask people who are passing by, just, "Hey, do you want to play a game?" Great way to start talking to people.
And since they have the sign up, you know that they're like willing, so it kind of takes that pressure off. We'll probably be there later if anybody wants to have a hardcore game of Candyland or Pretty Princess or Shoots and Ladders. Or maybe something serious, I don't know. Bad times to meet people. Like I said, this might be obvious to some people, but not to everybody. When someone is in the middle of a photo shoot, I have seen that happen. I have seen someone like walk into the middle of a picture to try and say hi. It's awkward, don't do that. In the middle of a panel when you're supposed to be quiet. I've also seen that happen. People just like talking in a corner. It's kind of rude. You think you don't have to explain this one, but you do. If someone's actually going to the bathroom, maybe you're not knocking on the stall and saying hi. And also, the dealer's room or artist alley can be a good place to chat with people, but if you can tell someone is like super into it, like they're really like moving fast, they're really concentrating on the stuff they're looking at, that's not really a good time to go up and say hi. The most important thing is to respect people's boundaries. If they don't want to talk, they don't want to talk. It might hurt your feelings, but you still need to respect that and walk away. There are tons of people at this convention. There are tons of people that would love to say hi and would love to chat. I'm one of them. I love to chat and love to say hi. So if somebody's rude, just brush it off and move on. You don't know why they're being standoffish. You don't know why they have that boundary. It might be something really personal. You just don't know. So if somebody doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to hang out, doesn't want to engage, just respect it and move on. A brief Q&A session before we whip out the cheesy activities. So questions or comments, like if you guys have any advice you want to give the room, or if you have any questions that we may or may not be able to answer, now's a good time.
Stay hydrated.
That's,
Stay hydrated.
yes!
Yes, that's part of, we should put that with the food bullet point.
Mhm.
Bringing a water bottle, so she's got her heavy duty one, but even
Yeah.
just like a regular plastic one, I've got one in here. If you're a germaphobe and you don't like sharing. But part of your travel lightly, the great thing about a backpack is you can travel lightly and bring a water bottle and your makeup and everything else. So water bottle, part of that.
That was an awesome tip. All right, in the back.
So, I like to take advantage of the SJ Cares booth.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good one.
If someone has disabilities or has like anxiety or,
Mhm.
you know, gets like really upset around crowds,
Yeah.
Yeah.
go to the SJ Cares booth and you can have a sit down, you can decompress,
Yeah.
and they help you with that. Especially if you get one on your badge,
Uh-huh.
then people will automatically know, okay, this person needs help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, you'd be really surprised at some of the accommodations that people can offer you at cons like these. Usually when people think about accommodations, like at least for me, I just automatically think of a wheelchair, but it's so much more than a wheelchair. So if you think you might benefit from something like that, it really doesn't hurt to go and check it out.
Isn't that crazy? Shouldn't like every place have that?
It should.
Like society's ableism is coming out, but that's a really good point. Yeah, it's not just for physical mobility disabilities, it's for any type of disability that you may have, and it is okay. Any other questions, comments?
If you plan to go to a concert or dance or any other place with loud music, earplugs.
Yes.
It will still be plenty loud enough to hear with the earplugs in.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a good one. And something too, especially because I work with students that are on the spectrum, but those headphones, and that doesn't even have to be at really loud places. Sometimes even just if you are really sensitive to noise, those can be really, really helpful. Earplugs, headphones, things like that. That's a really good point. Anybody else?
I've got another one.
Sure.
Wear comfortable clothing.
Yes.
So, horror
Shoes.
story. Horror story last year is my Claire Redfield Resident Evil cosplay. The boots are heeled. And I did not take that into account when I put the cosplay together. So I was walking around all Friday in these heeled boots, and my feet were killing me because I usually don't walk around in heeled boots. So this year, I am wearing flats.
Yeah, comfortable shoes are really important.
I have a follow-up with that.
Yeah.
So, if you do have somewhat uncomfortable shoes, it's good to get like maybe the Dr. Scholl's.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good idea.
They're not terribly expensive like everybody else thinks they are.
Mhm.
They're like maybe $20. So worth it.
Yeah.
You can take them in, you can put them in your shoe, take them out, put them in other shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So worth it.
Yeah.
And maybe if you're showing up to like a photo shoot where you have to wear those heels, consider taking like an extra pair of shoes.
Mhm.
So you can slip the shoes on, take the picture, slip them back on.
Yeah. All right.
And going even more off that, if you're someone who's like doing a cosplay and it's like you have heel shoes or you have a corset or something like that, and you're willing to like wear it all day, like and be uncomfortable, make sure you actually do set aside like some time like 30 minutes or something, like sit down, take off weight, like
Yeah.
snug a little bit. Just if you do have those uncomfortable parts and you're willing to like wear them most of the day, just if you think you can go all day, you can't. Take some time every once in a while, sit down, like let yourself recoup, and then get out of the uncomfortable.
Yeah, especially with things like corsets and binders. They really restrict you more than you think they do.
That's exactly it. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
If you're planning to go to a convention and cosplay or anything with like props, beforehand you want to see if there's any like cosplay medics or
Mm-hmm.
like some kind of room that will help you like put your cosplay back together because you don't want like your cosplay start falling apart and you don't want to sit back.
Yes.
Is there a room for that here? I've seen them at other conventions.
The craft room.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. That's really good to know. Not that I'm dressed up, unless tired teacher counts. I will say I went in the craft room earlier. My belt was too long, and I looked so unhinged. I just took a pair of scissors and cut part of the belt. And the lady that was sitting next to the scissors just gave me the weirdest face. But now I'm going to say it was in the cosplay repair room. Like, I needed to fix my costume real quick.